Go ahead.
So you made a lot of progress in being aware of what to tell people or what to tell me, what's working and what's not working. You showed that especially in the distancing. So to end us off, before we talk about your final homework, what are some things that you found to be the most useful, most helpful out of things that I've done, or things specifically in the therapy that you found?
Well, I think I really like the self-talk because that's something that I can do anywhere, anytime.
Right.
Especially if I'm mad or frustrated. Because in those situations, I don't necessarily want to, look at a thought record and write everything down,
Right.
figure it all out. Then it's more practical, I think, and most effective for me because I can just kind of go to my place and do that. So.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the final homework is going to be thinking about ways to test or whatever these kind of, if you get these negative feelings, because I want you to think about something like I'm a failure is an idea, and ideas can always be tested. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some ways that you've learned about that you can test these ideas?
Well, a lot of it is I just look back on the evidence that of things that I've already accomplished and that I've done.
Right, absolutely. So that, yeah, the self-testing where you just think about all the things you've done, just like you said, everything that I've done that proves that this idea is either right or this idea is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Some other things might be to ask somebody, right? Do you think like it might come off bad, but in other words, do you think I'm a failure? And not so many words or so little words.
Yeah, and not be a victim about it.
Yeah, not be a victim about it. Because that could make the situation worse.
Right.
Or talking to somebody for I had a list of ways that I wanted to talk to you about, but now I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So 10 ways to untwist your thinking. So these are just ways to kind of test those ideas. And the best one you've found so far is to use the self-talk. But in the future, if anything comes across where you can't do it, so the first one is identifying the distortion. That's where you identify if it's one of those 10 automatic thoughts.
Okay. Identify the distortion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember the distortions that we talked about? Did we talk about all 10 of them, or did I just mention them in passing?
I think you just mentioned them in passing.
Okay. So first one is all or nothing thinking. This is kind of where you think of things in black and white. It's either one way or the other. Overgeneralization. You view one negative as an never-ending pattern of defeat. So that would be like somebody says you're a failure, and now everything I do is going to be a failure. But okay, mental filters. You dwell on the negatives and ignore the positives. Disqualifying or discounting the positive is where you insist that your accomplishments don't count. So this would be a problem if somebody said you're a failure and you believed them and you say, oh, that other stuff doesn't count. I just got lucky in the last 3 years, right? But that's not true for you because you know that you've done so well.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping to conclusions. And then there's magnification or minimization. This is where you make a problem either too small or too big. Emotional reasoning. I feel like an idiot, so I must really be one. I feel like a failure, so I must really be a failure. Should statements. I should, or I should have done this better. Labeling. You identify some of your shortcomings. Instead of saying, I made a mistake, I'm a failure, or I made a mistake, you go straight to, I'm a failure, right?
Mhm.
Personalization and blame. This is where you either take too much blame for the problem or you blame someone else for too much of the problem, right? So it's like if she came up to you and she told you you were a failure, or she didn't tell you, she wouldn't say that, I would assume, but she pointed out something wrong, and you said you thought to yourself, oh, this is all her fault, right?
Mhm.
Or if you personalized it, you would think, oh, this is all my fault. I am a failure. So you would identify one of those 10 things.
Okay.
They're pretty easy to find online if you ever need to find them. The next one for the 10 ways to examine the evidence.
Mhm.
So instead of this is the one that you're good at. Instead of assuming the negative thought is true, think about the actual evidence for it or against it. Using the double standard method. Instead of putting yourself down in a harsh, condemning way, talk to yourself in the same compassionate way you would talk to a friend with a similar problem. So it's kind of like a mixture of the evidence and the distancing that didn't work for you, but instead of actually talking to them, just kind of using your head. And then trying to think in shades of gray. Think, oh, this is a big mistake, little mistake, medium mistake, right? The survey method is what we talked about already, asking someone. Define terms. When you label yourself as inferior or a fool or a loser, what is the definition of those things? So we're going to skip a couple of them, but the next one is cost-benefit analysis. That's one of my favorites, is where you think about, we kind of thought about this before. It's where you think about what kind of problems is this thinking going to cause me. So if I continue to think that I'm a failure, what is that going to cause me? What problems could that cause me in the future? So I would want you to continue to use those ways, right?
Mhm.
Does that sound like something you can do?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then definitely stick to your favorite one, the self-talk,
Mhm.
because it works for you and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else before we go?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right.